Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Virginia Morris. We warmly welcome the family of Private Maxwell James Trengove, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit, if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Maxwell James Trengove. Maxwell Trengove was born at Kadina, a town on the Yorke Peninsula about 150 kilometres northwest of Adelaide, on the 9th of December 1911. The son of William and Matilda Trengove, he grew up alongside his siblings, Constance, Linda, William and Sylvia, in the nearby town of Butte, where he attended primary school. After attending Prince Alfred College in Adelaide, Trengove left school in 1927 to work on the family farm, as well as working as a shearer in the district. He was well known locally as a sportsman, playing cricket, tennis and football with great success. On the 5th of July 1940, Maxwell Trengove enlisted into the 2nd Australian Imperial Force. He was signed to the newly raised 2nd 48th Battalion and began initial training at Woodside. After a period of pre-embarkation leave, which he spent visiting relatives, on the 17th of November, Private Trengove embarked for overseas service. The battalion arrived in the Middle East in late 1940 and early in the new year moved into Cynacia in today's Libya to complete its training. Despite the successes of the British offensive at the start of the year, the 9th Division fell back to Tobruk after the German-led counter-attack. The 2nd 48th Battalion entered Tobruk's defences in early April, helping to hold the fortress for the next 8 months. On Easter Monday, the 14th of April, the 2nd 48th helped defeat the Axis assault on Tobruk, while manning the outer line of Tobruk's defences. Over the next 2 days, patrols from the battalion captured nearly 800 enemy soldiers, virtually the entire 1st Battalion of the Italian 62nd Trento Regiment. In October, the men of the battalion were withdrawn from Tobruk and sent to Palestine and Syria for the rest and garrison duties. By July 1942, German and Italian forces had reached El Alamein in Egypt, about 110 miles from Alexandria. Attacking just before dawn on the 10th of July, the 2nd 48th took its first objectives and captured about 400 prisoners. Alamein was a great success for the Allies, and by early November, Axis forces were retreating. After the battle, Trengove had been admitted to hospital with dysentery before being discharged to a staging camp. With the battle over, it was time for the battalion to return to Australia and prepare to fight a new enemy, the Japanese. The 2nd 48th was reconstituted in late March 1943, after Trengove and his comrades had completed their leave. The battalion marched through Adelaide before being transported to the Atherton Tablelands in Queensland, where they established a camp on the Barron River, reorganised and trained for jungle operations, preparing for conditions in New Guinea. In July, the battalion moved to Cairns and undertook amphibious training. Arriving in New Guinea in early August, the men of the battalion established a camp around Mill Bay, where they undertook further amphibious training before taking part in the landing at Red Beach, northwest of Lae in New Guinea, on the 4th of September 1943. This was the first large-scale amphibious landing conducted by Australian forces since the landings on Gallipoli. After the fall of Lae in mid-September, the Allies hurriedly launched a follow-up campaign on the Huon Peninsula. The 2nd 48th remained around Lae until being transported by sea to Fishhaven in late October. After feeding a Japanese counter-offensive at Scarlet Beach, the battalion turned its attention to Saddleburg, the site of an abandoned Lutheran mission. While the main advance began on the 17th of November, the battalion took part in the preliminary attack on Green Ridge on the 16th in order to secure the start line for the advance. While the position was taken and the battle would go on to take Saddleburg, that not all men would survive to celebrate victory. Maxwell Trengove was killed in action on the 16th of November. He was 31 years old. Buried near where he fell, his remains were later reburied in Lay War Cemetery, where they lie today under the inscription chosen by his grieving family, "He died for freedom." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Maxwell James Trengove, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.